It's week 12. The Bye-Pocalypse Part One is upon us. The Bills beat the Chiefs. Finally, somebody did. And we have a game against brothers next Monday night. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the JSD Fantasy Football Podcast with your boy, Scott Papa Fox Jackson, my guy, Mr. Prestige John Evans, and the one and only bearded warrior, Big Dale Gibson. And we are JSD. Welcome to the pod, y'all.
All right, I'm John.
And I'm Dale.
There is no Scott tonight, but we are still JSD Fantasy. Welcome to the show. How you doing, bud?
Good. Tired. Kids, but, another day in the life. You know how it is.
Yep, that is how it is. So, all right. Well, then I guess we'll dive right in, yeah?
Yep, let's go ahead and do it.
All right. So, as far as any we've got a lot of injuries this week again. A lot of the notables. You got the Falcons. Darnell Mooney went out with his hammy. That affected his points this week. If you put him in, I thought I was being sneaky, throwing him in my lineup, thinking Patrick Surtain would cover up Drake London, and that would leave my boy open and able to do his thing, but he got hurt. So that was kind of a little bit of a bust because of that. Otherwise, I think he would have done me proud. But at least he's got the bye this week to rest up and feel a little bit better coming back in week 13. So
yeah, I know he was dealing with an Achilles injury going into this week, and then he was cleared. I believe it was the day before, 2 days before. And then aggravated the hamstring during the game. So hopefully he's able to rest up during the bye week and come back healthy. We don't want to see any more of these players get injured, especially somebody like Mooney, who's had really a breakout year after some down seasons in Chicago. So it's good seeing what he can do in a functioning offense, and hopefully they get him back after the bye, because they definitely need him up over.
Yeah, him and Drake really create that 1-2 punch that can stifle defenses and keep them guessing. At least keep them working to defend against that Atlanta passing game. So another couple of mentions. The Ravens, Roquan Smith, hammy also. He went out in that game. So he does not have a bye, so he needs to rest up and get back right. Don't know how serious it was. I'm just reading from a list on most of these. You got a handful of other players. Let me see.
Nick Bosa, oblique.
Yeah, I was going to get to him a little later on, but yes. So Nick Bosa, he is expecting to miss a little bit of time from his mouth to our ears. So he said it in his presser. But hopefully it's more day to day than it is week to week. We really can't afford to miss him. We all saw what happened this past Sunday when he was out for a handful of plays. Geno cooked, and Seahawks came back to beat us. So that was rough.
Yeah, the ending of that game was it was hard, especially knowing how well we were able to contain with Bosa on the field, and with him off, it was complete 180. I saw a stat earlier. I think it was a 3 or 4 yard difference with Bosa on and off the field. And hopefully it's not too long of a layoff for him, with that defense. But again, speedy recovery, and hopefully he comes back healthy, and hopefully, the Niners start getting some of their other key defensive players back. I know Greenlaw is supposed to be coming back hopefully in the next couple weeks. At least the practice window is going to open for him. Hopefully Hufunga is going to be coming back soon, and we get some of those pieces because they need to go on a run. And if they have any hopes of, even at this point, making a wild card, they either need to win out or at least win 5 of the last 7. So we'll see what happens. Don't want to spend too much time talking about, just our team and defense in general. But, there's just that little bit out there. But we can go ahead and move on from them.
Yeah. Kittle was out this week. He was dealing with, was it ankle or
hamstring?
A hammy again.
Yeah.
So hopefully he can get healed up and we can get that, at least something going. I do think our play calling on this last game was a bit of an issue. I think we were trying to force some runs to happen that just weren't able to develop, and we should have thrown the ball a little bit more. But that's in my opinion. So hopefully we get it right next week and moving on. So the Raiders, they lost a handful of people, starting with their backfield. So Alexander Madison, ankle. Zamir White, quad. They lost a couple of cornerbacks. Jacorian Bennett for his shoulder and Jack Jones with his back. I mean, the Raiders were getting it handed to them, honestly, on this week. The Dolphins were able to put up a lot of points against them. Brock Bowers, the shining light of the Raiders right now, absolutely killed it at tight end. So if you have him, if you're dynasty redraft, get him again next year on the redraft. But if you have him dynasty, you can hold on to him for a long time and not worry. What a stud. So, read this today. Jaguars, Gabe Davis, meniscus tear, out rest of season. So you're already dealing with Trevor Lawrence being injured over there. Mac Jones was actually able to get the ball to Brian Thomas Jr. this week, and he scored his 17-something points on my bench. It's hard to trust him with that quarterback play. So I don't know what this means moving forward. You can base it on situation. If you want to take a gamble at Brian Thomas Jr. right now, that's exactly what I think of it. He's definitely an explosive player. It's just, is that quarterback going to give him the ball, and who's going to be that quarterback? Is it going to be Trevor Lawrence coming back, or is it going to be Mac Jones? And the Jags are on bye in Week 12, so an extra week for everybody to get healthy that can. Not Gabe Davis, he's out. We'll see him next year. But yeah, so there's hope. If Trevor Lawrence can come back not in Week 13, then we can have the Brian Thomas Jr. conversation again, and I'm sure we will. So you mentioned Nick Bosa, so we're good there.
Brock Purdy, day-to-day with shoulder soreness.
Yeah.
Shanahan is what I saw earlier.
Yeah, I think that's mostly just going to be maintenance related. He's just a little sore. He took some hits. He tried to throw the ball around a little bit, and he made some plays on the ground himself from what I saw. So day to day.
And then tonight, if anybody watched the game, Cowboys lost more players. Zach Martin, that's a big hit on that offensive line. You're already down Dak. Your running back situation is terrible.
Yeah, Fergalicious just went down.
Yep. Ferguson went down with a concussion.
But basically, that O-line has been decimated for Dallas. It's the defense actually looked right and better than they've been with Micah Parsons back, but
still bad.
It's not fantastic at all. but they just took another big hit of offense. They're in trouble. But as you can see, we could still count on CeeDee Lamb, even with mediocre at best quarterback play. So,
Well, I mean, they have no rushing game, so they had Cooper Rush throw damn near 60 passes, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was mentioning it to you earlier. 6 minutes left. There's no reason to keep him out there. They pulled most of their starters on offense out there, yet they kept Cooper Rush out there to keep throwing the ball and do what they could. There's no reason. Throw Trey Lance in there, see what he can do in garbage time. I mean, it's not going to change Jerry Jones' mind. They're going to keep Cooper Rush in there, but at least you can see what the kid has, and
at this point,
at this point, you might as well. Exactly. What's it going to hurt? Nothing. Your season at this point is pretty much lost. Just see what you have for the future, and don't wear out your current starting quarterback like that, because I don't remember the last time, if at all, he's ever thrown that many passes in a game. He's going to be hurting tomorrow for sure. Plus all the hits that he took and the sacks. It's that offense they're in trouble. That team in general is in trouble, and they had a lot of high expectations this year, but injuries just decimated them.
Yeah, it really is a sad story there in Dallas. Still yet to win a home game. So, coming off that, we've got a ton of injuries. We are approaching week 12. It's the Bye-Pocalypse Part One. So, we've got 6 teams on bye this week. In week 14, we get hit again with a big chunk. I believe it's 8. Is it 6 or another 6 or 8?
I think it's another 6, if I'm not mistaken.
All right. Yeah. Either way, this is going to be a tough week for people that are missing some of their key players because they're on bye. Those teams are the Falcons, the Bills, the Bengals, the Jaguars, the Saints, and the Jets. So you've got some high caliber teams there, and then some not. But yeah.
So just be thankful nobody's matched up against Jamar Chase this upcoming week.
Yeah, I need to make sure that I'm playing you in every league. And
I've only got Jamar Chase in one league, so you're free.
Well, then I probably well, I hope I play you in that league then. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, so with that said, you got those teams on bye. You're gonna have to sub out. A lot of people's trade deadlines are coming up. If not this week, next week. Correct?
Yes.
Actually, this coming Saturday, I know, is in a handful of leagues.
All of our Yahoo leagues are the 23rd, I believe.
Yeah, and then Sleeper, I know this was the last week, I think.
This was the last. Today was the last day.
Is it today or tomorrow?
Today. I believe today was the last day.
All right. Well, when we get done here, maybe we are recording on Monday, by the way, everyone. Maybe when we get off here, Dale, I'll make a trade with you on Sleeper.
Sure. I'll take Brees Hall for a bag of peanuts.
All right. Well, bag of peanuts it is. So, moving on from that, the Bills finally beat the Chiefs. There we go.
Thank you, Josh Allen, my hero.
Yes. So, that was cool. Got to watch the very end of that while I was at work. On break. And got to watch that ending there. So they pulled off the win. That's some great momentum to have going into your bye week. So Curtis Samuel actually showing up a little bit. I don't know exactly his stat line, but I know he got at least one touchdown that I saw. But yeah, if the Bills can come out of the bye with this kind of momentum, I think the rest of their season looks pretty good as far as matchups fantasy wise.
Curtis Samuel, 5 receptions, 58 yards, 1 touchdown. Khalil
Nice.
Shakir, 8 for 70, 0 touchdowns, but definitely helped produce. And Amari Cooper, 2 for 55, no touchdowns. I think he's still trying to recover from that, was it a wrist injury, I believe?
Yeah, it was wrist.
Yeah, I think he's still trying to get back from that and get right from that. Once he's right, and the way Shakir's playing right now, I think they can be a good wide receiver duo, especially going deep into the end of the season, trying to solidify their spot in the top of the AFC. I think that'll be good. James Cook starting to fall off a bit though.
He's got some competition.
They're starting to pull back off the run game a little bit and focus more on the passing with Josh Allen. A little bit
when he's not running it himself.
Yeah, a little bit opposite of how they were in the beginning of the season, where it was very run heavy, pass second. But when you have somebody like Josh Allen, you want to rely on that passing game, and then secondary would be the rush. But I think James Cook is in a good spot coming off the bye to have a bounce back game. He only had 9 for 20. Not a good game at all. But like I said, it's a tough run defense against the Chiefs. Passing is a little bit easier, so I think they just relied a little bit heavier on Josh Allen to throw the ball around than relying on that run game, except for when Josh Allen was running the ball.
Right. Yeah. So, lucky for us, they come back off their bye, playing us.
Not lucky.
Yeah. Well, they are lucky because they're at home. It's a Sunday night game. So, yeah, good for them. Not so much us. That will be a challenge, for sure. So, moving on. So, Dale, do you have any waiver targets that you're looking at this week?
Yeah, I've got a couple. If Anthony Richardson is available in your league, he was dropped. He had his best game maybe ever. 42.08 fantasy points in full PPR. I mean, I don't think anybody was expecting that. He was playing terrible all season, got benched for Flacco, and 2 games later comes back and has a career game. Down a quarterback because of the bye week, I think you can plug in Anthony Richardson if he's available, which I don't know what his percentage of availability is in Yahoo or Sleeper, but
he is currently 48% rostered on Yahoo.
Yeah, see, he's available in quite a few leagues out there. So if he's available and you have a quarterback on bye this week and you've only got one quarterback, I would go out and grab him. I think what's his matchup look like?
It's going to be against Detroit.
Yeah, it's against Detroit. I mean, it's not the best matchup, but he's going to be your best option out there for waiver quarterbacks, just to pick up and stream for a week. Along with Anthony Richardson, I've got MVS, Valdez-Scantling. If you didn't pick him up last week and he's still available out there, go ahead and pick him up. He's Derek Carr's favorite target right now, and he's showing out 18.70 fantasy points this last game. You can't argue with production, and he's doing it back-to-back games. So I think that continues going forward. Let's see what they're. Do they have a game this week, or are they on bye?
Saints are on bye,
Saints are on
so
bye.
so you can hold off on that, or
Yeah. Yep.
you may not have to waste a waiver wire.
You can just
spot.
wait to pick him up the day after.
Yeah, just get him Wednesday morning.
My last one is going to be Kevontae Turpin. He had a hell of a game tonight. 3
He sure did.
receptions, 3 targets, 3 receptions. I believe it was 86 yards. Good enough for 26.20 fantasy points. And that goes along with his return yards as well. Now that Dak's not there and they lack some weapons outside of CD, they're really covering CD and they're leaving open these other receivers, Turpin, Tolbert. We'll see how Ferguson comes back, from the Turpin's a sneaky flex option, I think. I don't think you're going to slot him into your wide receiver, 2, wide receiver 3 role, but I think as a flex option, he has a lot of appeal. He's had some good games this year. This last game, granted they got blown out. He still put up 26 points. You want that. So if he's available out there, I would definitely try and go grab Turpin, especially with how thin people are going to be because of these bye weeks.
Well, I could definitely see that. You could also look at the rookie tight ends for Dallas, but I'm personally going to stay away from picking up any kind of Dallas player with that O-line being like just destroyed. I don't know if I could trust that just yet. So I may wait a week on some of these players on the Dallas squad. I was going to say, let me get to him. Sorry. All right, Jonnu Smith. If anybody saw him this week, and the past handful of weeks, he's been doing good. This week against the Raiders, 34.1 points in full PPR. He is basically Tua's little safety net. He trusts him, especially when there are no options down the field. If it's not being handed off or tossed to Achane, he's a good pickup. He's only 54% rostered in Yahoo League, surprisingly. I used him this week in place of McBride and Kate Otten in some leagues, and he did not disappoint. So did Taysom Hill, but again, yeah, yep. When he hits, boy, he hits. Who else was I gonna?
The thing with Jonnu, especially this last game, yes, he was a safety blanket, but it's because Tua is not throwing downfield. He's not throwing those, intermediate to deep passes that we're used to seeing him throw. Now, whether that's good coverage by the defense, if that's he's just getting shaky and a little rattled in the backfield there with the offensive line play, afraid he's going to get hit. I don't know what it is, but he's not throwing the ball deep. He's not. This is not the Tua that we're used to seeing. And he's been back a few weeks now, and all you're seeing is a lot of checkdowns, short yardage, and a few intermediates here and there, but there's nothing down the field. Tyreek is not getting those deep balls. Waddle's not getting the deep balls. So Jonnu Smith's eating up all those short yardage targets, which helps him, but hurts the fantasy managers for Hill and Waddle.
Yeah, Tua is just not right. He's not back yet. He might be back in physically in front of you, but spiritually he's not back. I can't fully trust Tua. I know last week we were talking about trying to buy low on Tyreek if he can, on CD if he can. Those would have paid off for you this week. But I just don't know. Again, just like the Cowboys, but the Cowboys is more of an offense as a whole, not trusting them. Tyreek is just not sure what Tua is going to do, or if he's going to be able to. So another one that I have, if Quentin Johnson is available, he's only rostered in 41% of leagues. Nobody. It says 0% last week started.
Huh.
Or maybe that was just rostered. But either way, I don't think that's accurate. I think he's a good piece to get. Herbert trusts him. Lad McConkey is a fantastic player, but huge. Like, he's been there. This is his second year. He's earned the trust of Justin, and I think that's going to be, that's a good pickup if he's not already on somebody's roster in your league. So, plus the fact that, and this segues into our next segment about we're coming up. The Monday night football game this week will be the Harbaugh brothers against each other. It's going to be in LA, and that's going to be fun to watch. So, Ravens at the Chargers, brother v. brother, and I think we're going to have a shootout. It's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be one of the could be the best Monday night game of the year.
Yeah, it definitely has all the markers to be one of those games. They had the Har Bowl back in 2012. Ravens Niners Super Bowl, and this is the first time that they've played each other since then, I believe. If I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
So I think both teams are going to want to show out for their coaches, be it, brother versus brother. Plus, you got two contending teams. And, Chargers coming off a good win, Ravens coming off a loss, going to want to prove that they are the best in the AFC. I think it's going to be a really good game. Herbert is very underrated right now for how well he's been playing,
and he's coming back.
Yeah, I don't think we've really talked much about Herbert because he's really just kind of flying under the radar.
Absolutely,
and he's really good numbers without turning the ball over too much. He's making big plays when he needs to make them. He's just playing really good football, and I think he's going really unnoticed. And I think more people need to start paying attention to Justin Herbert and that offense. Lad McConkey is great, especially as a rookie. I think he's his favorite target. QJ for sure has his trust, especially after last year. A lot of drop balls, but he seemed to have fixed that in the off season and through the beginning of this season, which is good to see because he was a first round pick. So you like to see those players have that bounce back. But I think the offense is clicking for the Chargers, and this should be a really good game. If it's anything with the Ravens you've seen recently, they're easy to pass on. They're a pass first, team on defense. So Herbert, McConkey, QJ should have against that Ravens defense.
Yeah, I think first off, I think the fact that last year when they drafted Huge, they had Keenan Allen as their wide receiver one. They had Mike Williams. They still have Joshua Palmer, but he's just kind of been there, like he just kind of like level across the line. Nothing, not a big splash play in any kind of way. But I think that's what's allowed Herbert and Huge to build that chemistry there with those other receivers gone and building from there. So both teams have won 7. The only difference is Chargers have already had their bye. Ravens get theirs in week 14. So you got same winning record from both teams. They're going to do it in LA. So Chargers will have the home field advantage. Over under on this game is 50 points. So there's only one other game this week that is over under 50 points as well, and that's the Eagles and Rams. So, which that's also in LA. Yeah, your Eagles Rams is the Sunday night game, and the Ravens Chargers is the Monday night game.
There you go.
So SoFi Stadium is going to be busy next weekend. So that kind of, to me, I think that's at least one game of the week right there in itself. It's probably the game of the week.
That was my game of the week, Ravens Chargers.
Yeah. that really, I mean, I'm looking now just to make sure I didn't read something wrong. And everything else is almost so mismatched. It's not even funny. We have the Chiefs at Panthers, 9-1 versus 3-7. Lions at Colts, that's 9-1, and Colts are 5-6. A lot of lopsided situations. Steelers at Browns, 8-2 and 2-8. There's a close one here. It's a divisional game. Cardinals at Seahawks. Cardinals currently lead the division, so if they can go and beat Seattle at home, they've got a huge advantage against everybody else in the NFC West. So, but yeah, safe to say, Ravens at Chargers is everyone's game of the week, and we all know why. So that'll be a fun one. Let's get it. So, all right, Dale. I have to ask you because you're the only one I can't ask. Where did the bad fantasy football hurt you this week?
It wasn't too bad this week. I finally picked up another win in our big money league, the work league. And that was only after I pulled off a trade that significantly helped me out this week.
Yeah, I didn't do that until way after the fact. You sneaky bastard.
Yeah, so I was offered a trade I really couldn't turn down, and
he offered you.
Yeah, so I was offered. Yeah, so I'll go over it real quick, just so everybody has an idea of what we're discussing. I was offered Jared Goff. Now this other manager, he had 3 quarterbacks, and he was just trying to dump Goff because of his 5 interception performance. He was over it, didn't want him on his roster. So he offered Goff, Garrett Wilson, and I believe Valdez Scantling for Ladd McConkey, Josh Downs, and Wan'Dale Robinson. So I immediately pulled the trigger on that. I already have Amon-Ra on my roster, so I was able to get the stack there. And the upside of Garrett Wilson with, Rodgers, granted they're not playing great, but I took it as an upside play. And then MVS being the number 1 target over in New Orleans. Did not start MVS, and I started Wilson. Didn't matter. That Goff Amon-Ra stack was amazing, which is what helped me win my game this week. So really the only downside that I have for at least this team, I have 8 teams. So I'm gonna focus on this one. It would be Tony Pollard. He was not good. 6.90 points on the week. Very down week. and then Garrett Wilson 5.80 points. I don't expect that to continue for either one of them. Mostly for Pollard. He's been a lot better than that this season. So I think he'll have a bounce back. I'm hoping Garrett Wilson does as well. But we'll see. That Jets offense is atrocious. It's not a functioning offense. So I'm hoping for a bounce back for both of them. But yeah, this week for me, even though I did win my matchup, I was hoping for more from Pollard and from Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, it's tough because the oh my goodness, Garrett Wilson, word vomit. Yeah, that was disappointing numbers, but I think it was just a matter of situation. I'm not sure what Adams got, but I'm sure he made up the difference, right? Because even with Rodgers playing the way he's playing, I think you're going to be fine with Garrett Wilson. He will bounce back. I don't think he's going to do great at all this week because it's a bye, but he should be good to go week 13 for you.
So I can tell you right now, Devontae Adams, 6 for 72. I'm just looking up a stat line. I don't have his fantasy numbers here. I can look those up real quick. But he was 6 for 72. Wilson was 4 for 18. Breece Hall was 7 for 43. So obviously Adams is the favorite target, as we all knew he was going to be. But hoping for better days for Wilson. I need to make a comeback in a big way in this league, and at least squeak into the playoffs. I don't care if I'm the 6th seed, just as long as I make it in, get myself a shot.
Yeah. Well, what was I going to go to next? Oh, my turn for where the bad fantasy football hurt me. It's Nick Chubb, man. I mean, I've held him in such high regard, and I know it's just a game script. They're not using him like he could be used. This week, he was worth 8 points even. 11 rush attempts, 50 rush yards, 3 rush first downs. That's it. Nothing in the receiving game. Winston's just throwing it downfield, and he's not seeing if that's an option for dump off passes, given any RPOs, anything like that. Which with him, that's to be expected for the most part. I just wish they would just inject him into more of the core gameplay. And I'm hoping that's what's going to happen. I don't think I'm going to try to trade him away for anything unless somebody comes to me with it. I'm just trying to ride it out. He's not really affecting my roster because he's been on my IR since the beginning of the year when I drafted him. So he's not hurting me unless I absolutely really need a bench spot for something. But with the waiver wires being so depleted, or the waiver pool being so depleted, I'm not using any of my priority to get anybody to need a spot that he is holding. So, yeah. Anyway, that's enough for me rambling and crying about Nick Chubb.
I think, unfortunately, if you wanted to trade him, he's not worth much. So you're going to trade a bench piece for a bench piece at that point.
Exactly. You might get lucky and get a really good kicker, or a spare defense that somebody's been holding on to since their bye week passed, and they just don't want to let anybody else have it. But even then,
something like that. He went 11 for 50 with a 14 yard rush was his long. He's coming back from an injury that I don't think we've really seen before. So he's going to take some time to get back to that old Nick Chubb that we're used to seeing, and I don't think that'll be until next year. It's just great seeing him back on the field, as a fan perspective, but as, an actual football production and especially fantasy football production, point of view, it's not happening this season.
Yeah,
and I think we just have to temper expectations and hope for the best next season when he's 100% healthy and hopefully back to the Nick Chubb that we're used to seeing.
Nope, absolutely. So, all right, moving on from that, we got a comment on one of our videos. It was posted the other day, wanting to know why we didn't mention TJ Hawkinson coming back, and we didn't really make a huge thing about it. I think we talked about it briefly. I want to pull his stats up for that, because unfortunately this week he disappointed. 2 receptions, 13 yards out of 3 targets, for 5.3 fantasy points. Last week was his big week and his second week back, because he came back on week 9 and played 6.7. Last week against Jacksonville, 21.20. And this week, 5.3. So, am I worried about TJ Hawkinson? No. I think he's going to build that rapport with Darnold. They're still, getting that together. The Vikings haven't looked consistent as of late. So I think a lot of people are waiting to see if that balances out. But as far as Hawkinson goes, I think rest of the year he'll be fine. They play Chicago this week, followed by Arizona, Atlanta, Chicago again, Seattle, and finishes off with Green Bay. A lot of those are very neutral matchups for tight end. Might be just what the doctor ordered as far as that. Even with Arizona being a challenging one against tight ends, I think there's opportunity for him to eat, and so I wouldn't sleep on Hawk too much, but definitely worth the mention. Thanks for the comment, listener, to make sure that we touch base on stuff. That's what we're talking about when we want you guys to engage with us. So it's definitely appreciated. Let's keep that going. And if there's something you want to hear or talk about or have us talk about, then drop it in the comments. Hit us up on social. Let us know, where you'd like us to steer the conversations, because we definitely can, and we can touch on a bunch of different topics. Sorry, I got sad for a second. I saw Nick Chubb score again, but yeah. Anyway, thank you, everyone. Appreciate that. So, Dale, you got anything on PJ Hawkinson?
Yeah, I think he'll get back into the swing of things. Like you said, he had a 21-point game just 2 games ago.
Last week before this.
Last week,
yeah.
So he's obviously back to being healthy. A 21-point game from a tight end is great. And
especially for one coming back from such a big injury last year.
Exactly. So the fact that, he can go out and get you a 21-point game in his second game back from that type of injury, it points to good things going forward. He's got to get that rapport down with Darnold. Now that Addison is starting to tick upwards with his chemistry with Darnold, he had a big game this last week. So I think Hawkinson will be that number 3 target for now, but could definitely push Addison back into his number 3 role, and Hawkinson could be that number 2 target again in Minnesota, which would be nice to see. Hawkinson, when he is healthy, is one of the best tight ends in the league, and it's good to see him back, and we always need tight end production. This last week was not great for tight ends. Pitts did nothing. Kittle was out. Don't really know how Kelsey did. I don't think he had that great of a game. So having Hawkinson back, if you've been waiting for him to come back and he's readily available to play for you right now, start him, because he can give you those big, weeks that these other tight ends can't, just because he's that good. So just bank on, him getting that rapport back with Darnold, and hopefully having a solid rest of the season.
Yeah. Just to go back to Kelsey, 2.8.
See, there you go.
He caught 2 passes for 8 yards, 2.8. So, and I think legend has it he's still waiting on a throw from Patrick Mahomes over in Buffalo. So, yeah, no, I think TJ Hawkinson will end up being, let's just say, you remember Adam Thielen in Minnesota,
Yep.
basically guaranteed a touchdown a game. It's going to be the Hawk, so get ready for that. But other than that, do you have any starter sits to finish us off for tonight?
Yeah, I've got really just one starter sit, and it 2 rookies, not the same matchup. So I'm going with starter sit Jaden Daniels against the Cowboys, or Bo Nix against the Raiders.
Wow, that's actually a really good one.
I think Bo Nix has really closed the gap on the Rookie of the Year race with Jaden Daniels.
Think so?
I really do think so. And I do want to mention, I called out Bo Nix weeks ago on our podcast as a player to look out for and pick up if you had quarterback injuries or you were looking to stream. So that's always nice when a prediction comes to fruition and he ends up playing good. So that's always nice. But yeah, I really do think he's closed the gap. He's got his team in contention. The Broncos are what, 6-5 now?
Let's see, Broncos are 6-5 against
And
the 2-8 Raiders team. And what was the other? Let's see, Commanders are 7-4 going against a 3-7 Cowboys. So very similar records. They're just off by
one win.
Yep. 1 win.
I think total touchdowns. I think Bo Nix has the edge in that one. And yeah, I think just the role that Bo Nix has been on recently and the kind of decline that Daniels has been on has kind of like lessened the gap. Daniels was way ahead a lot of people, and the way Bo Nix has been playing and getting comfortable in that offense, and he just had his first 300-yard passing game, 4 passing touchdowns, no interceptions, with just, who really knows who some of these receivers are? Little Jordan Humphrey, Devon Valet, that's not Terry McLaurin, Austin Eckler, right. So he's kind of got this, random group of receivers out there, and he's making things happen with them. So I think given that and, just the trajectory of both right now, I think he's really closed the gap. But yeah, so starter sit Daniels or Nix.
Okay. What you just said, though, real quick, with just passing the ball around, and I really hate saying this, but it's kind of Patrick Mahomes-esque. You know what I mean? He's able to get the ball around and spread it around. So it's really annoying if you're trying to lock in on a receiver and have them on your squad. But quarterback wise, that really makes for a solid asset to have. But based on the fact that I think I would go Bo Nix on this for like both teams are playing against pretty shoddy defenses, right? Um, the Cowboys, the Raiders, like I think you're going to have more throwing and scrambling opportunities for Nix than you are the Jaden Daniels with the Commanders.
Yes.
I think they're going to be able to. Jaden Daniels is not the mobile quarterback that Bo Nix is, and Jaden Daniels has Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson as long as he is healthy. But he both can air the ball out. But I like Nix in this one. I think it'll, even though that's an away game, they're going to Vegas for that one, and the Commanders would be at home. The talent there and the runability of Nix and his, like you said, he's passing the ball around effortlessly to all these other players to make big plays. So I like Nix in this one.
Yeah, and I got to agree. In his last 2 games, he's thrown 6 touchdowns to no picks. And one of those games was against the Chiefs, which they almost beat. If the Chiefs wouldn't have blocked that field goal, Bo Nix would have had a win over Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And he played almost mistake-free in that game, 22 for 30 for 215 and 2 touchdowns. No interceptions. Like I said, this last game, over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's really finding a groove, and I think he's only going to get better. We don't have too many games left in the season, but for him to find like his comfortability zone, getting situated in this offense with Sean Payton and working all these different players and receivers in and just spreading the ball around to everybody, it's going to bode well for him going forward and that team. Obviously, they're not going to win their division. The Chiefs are. Can they sneak their way into a wild card game? Sure. I don't see why not. They've got a great defense. And with the offense looking the way it's looking, I don't see why they couldn't make a wild card game. I just think I love Jaden Daniels. I've been very high on Daniels all season. I did mention that also earlier. In one of our episodes, I have him in a couple leagues, but I also have Bo Nix in a couple leagues. And Bo Nix has been outproducing Jaden Daniels the last few weeks, and you can't ignore that. But I'm going Jaden Daniels in this. The Raiders are – the Cowboys still have some solid players, left on defense. Micah Parsons, their secondary is not as bad as the Raiders. The Raiders are just – they're bad. And I think – the Broncos are going to take advantage of that, and I think it's going to be very pass happy on this Raiders defense. But also don't count out the run game. Nix can scramble. To your point, I know you said you think Nix is a better scrambling quarterback. I disagree. I think Jaden Daniels is. I just don't think he uses his legs as much as he should. I watched both in college, and Jaden Daniels was electric when he would scramble. He just really hasn't transitioned that into his NFL game completely. But we've seen more scrambling from Bo Nix. So in that case, you're not wrong. But just from what I've seen from what Daniels can do, he just hasn't really translated over. He's not that Lamar Jackson-esque type scrambler. He'd rather pass first and then run second. But when he runs, he can run like Lamar, or at least close to it.
And I think that's the point, right? He hasn't had to. So he's been able to get it done in other ways.
Yes.
Now, as he develops as a player, yes, he could definitely do that, but he's not shown it yet, and that's why it's just been shown that Bo Nix can do it, or will do it. Let's say that he will do it. So Jaden Daniels hasn't shown that yet. Plus, he's still dealing with his rib injury. So him running around and like getting tackled, I don't think he wants to do. He was wincing after making any kind of like intermediate to long throw last week against the Eagles, and he was hurting. So I don't think he wants to take those risks, and I think you're going to go Bo Nix on this one, big time. The talent, it's not a wide a gap as some people would think, or what I was thinking up until a few weeks ago. So kudos to you on nailing that one on the head. That was a good pickup for sure.
Appreciate it. So, like I said, it's always nice to see when predictions like that turn out to be positive. It just kind of reiterates that we know a little bit of what, but we're not experts, but we do pay attention. We do look at trends. We do pay attention to games and stats, and that's what we want to give you guys, the viewers, that don't know what to look for, don't really dive into numbers, or how players are playing efficiently week to week. And if we can give just a little bit of information to help you guys, that's what we're here for.
You got to celebrate the wins,
Yeah, and we have a lot of losses, but for those little wins here and there, it's nice to see it come to fruition for sure.
Definitely validating. So I'm feeling better about a lot of the advice that I've given, or thoughts that I have going in the right direction, and actually seeing patterns and certain just ways of thinking and setting my lineup, or going after certain players, when to hop off a train when I think a player's getting cold or will get cold. And like one of those that I've been actually spot on with doing, I traded for Kyle Pitts back in week, I think 7, and I traded him away in week 9. And like it was like I had him for like 2 weeks maybe, and I was ready. Like I know he's gonna heat up here, and then these are the top 5, 3 of the top 5 best matchups for a tight end. Spot on they were. I had him for 2 of those 3 weeks, traded him away so that way, all right, let me get some value out of him and then move along. And I did fine, and I haven't looked back. So it feels great to feel validated in your opinion and your thoughts when it comes to players, and just get better at it and build on it. So definitely makes it more interesting and fun too. So
yeah, and like one of my big losses, not sure if I've mentioned it on the podcast, I'm sure I have. I drafted Chuba Hubbard in the late rounds of our big money work league, and he had his 3-4 game streak in the beginning of the season where he was playing really well, over expectation, going over projected points, just kind of overproducing what people were really thinking he was going to do, and especially me. And knowing that, Jonathan Brooks was kind of waiting in the wings and waiting for him to come back from IR, just hearing that he's going to cut into the workload, he could possibly take over. So at his high point, I traded him for Chris Olave because I had just lost Rashee Rice. I needed to replace a number one wide receiver. Traded him away for Olave, and I believe it was another piece. I don't remember who the other piece was, but that turned out to be the completely wrong move. Is, at least points-wise, I believe a top 8 running back right now, and Olave is on IR. So, you got to take with the losses, and that loss was huge for me. If I would have kept Hubbard, I might be in a different position, in the standings. But you with the losses, you learn from it, and you go forward.
Absolutely. And honestly, Chuba Hubbard, week 1 was worth 2.4. Every game since has been double digits. 2 of those double-digit games was less than 15. Everything else was 20 or better.
Yeah.
Man's been on fire. So
and that's why he got the extension.
Absolutely. So man's getting paid. But sorry, I almost forgot my starter set. This week, are you starting third string quarterback Daniel Jones or Aaron Rodgers? So for those of you that don't know, Daniel Jones got demoted to third string. He's not even the backup to Tommy DeVito. He is the backup to Drew Lock. He is third string quarterback. They are not going to let that man get injured and collect all that money. So he's going to get paid to sit.
Everybody, I think, thought it would be Drew Lock stepping in, but they threw a curveball and said, DeVito's our guy. So
he played with him last year, and with the Daniel Jones injury, and he, he did decent. So can't be mad at it. Anyway, so that was just being silly. I'm still playing. I'll play Aaron Rodgers because at least there's no way in hell he can play this week at all, being on bye. Daniel Jones, there's just a slim chance that both of the starters get hurt. He comes in and gets a sack for negative points. So
does what he's famous for and throws interceptions.
Yeah, where was I going to go with this? Let's see.
What is your start or sit?
My start or sit. Are you going Mike Williams for the Steelers or Cedric Tillman for the Browns? Yes, it's the same game.
Ooh. Just based on quarterback play, I'm going Mike Williams. I don't really trust Jameis Winston, and Russ is playing really well right now. I think I don't know what Williams' stat line was for his last game. I can look that up right now.
Well, go ahead, Tom. I'll look it up.
So I'm definitely going to go Williams over that one. Tillman's solid, but I think Williams has a higher upside with that offense. It's just a better overall offense, a better overall quarterback. All right, what's the stat?
0 targets, 0 targets, 0 everything. This was the funky Baltimore game where they didn't even score a touchdown. All 18 of Pittsburgh's points came from field goals. Chris Boswell was worth 25 fantasy points.
I had him on my team, multiple teams. So thank you, Chris.
So
I'm still sticking with Mike Williams. I trust Russ, and there's no way he doesn't get targeted this next game. I don't see him getting blanked out 2 games in a row like that. So I'm gonna go Mike Williams.
So even with him putting up a goose egg and Russell Wilson having garbage numbers this last game for fantasy purposes, I'm going to actually let the tiebreaker be the defense that's going against. So Jameis Winston throwing to Cedric Tillman against the Steelers defense, I don't like. I much would rather prefer Russell Wilson throwing to Mike Williams against the Browns secondary. I think they will get right with what they did last game. There will be touchdowns. It will not be a bunch of field goals. Don't feel bad. Still keep Chris Boswell. He's a beast, and he's been nailing all his field goals for the most part this season. But yeah, I would also go Mike Williams in that one.
Don't forget that both defenses, you're going to get a lot of pressure off the edge. One team, you've got TJ Watt. The other team, you've got Myles Garrett. So both these quarterbacks are going to be under pressure constantly all game. So that is also going to contribute to how these quarterbacks play. But I'm still sticking with, and he's just a better overall quarterback and has a better overall skill set than Jameis Winston. And I think, like I said, I don't think Williams gets a goose egg 2 weeks in a row. I think this could be a get right game for him. And if he's still out there on waivers and lost a lot of people on, part 1 of the Bye-Pocalypse, try and see if he's worth a stream.
No, absolutely, especially if you've got holes to fill there. All right. Before we get out of here, kudos to Scott. Played him in the work league, lost to him in the work league. At least it was close. It was determined by less than 10 points, I believe. 10, 15-ish. So hats off to you, Scotty. Pulled out the win with CeeDee Lamb and the Houston kicker. So
Fair Baron.
Yep. But other than that, at least you got that this week from that game. That was definitely quite the game. But next week we'll have a lot less as far as buys. I'm not really sure the amount of buys for week 13. Should be back down to pretty minimal of 0. We have 0 buys in week 13. So it's kind of crazy how that works, where we'll have these weeks like week 12 and 14. A ton of teams are on bye. You got 6 and then 6. But next week, everybody's available. So seriously, if you just need to fill a spot this week, maybe you have a player that got ruled out and didn't go back to questionable, and their bye is this week coming up. You can get away with throwing them in your IR spot. Do that so you can pick somebody else up. But it's getting to crunch time. You guys try to make your best moves. Throw us some comments down below and let us help you. Let us give you some advice. We don't have to wait until the episode next week to address it. We can bring it up as a talking point, but we can answer you then. So that way you get that before the games start this weekend. And then this week we also have, Thursday night game is the Steelers at the Browns. So we get to see if Mike Williams is going to outproduce Cedric Tillman with that last starter sit. So if you guys got questions, ask them. Let us help you. Let us at least discuss it. Give you something to think about. At least it's something. So, but Dale, you got anything else before we head out?
Yeah, just like, comment, subscribe, share. Week after week, it's the same thing. We want to grow this channel, and we can't do it without you guys. The fans, the people that tune in week to week, and watch us for the content. And we want to be able to interact with you guys. We're still trying to gain subscribers so we can do our live feed on YouTube. We're to 50. We're just not there yet. So just stay interactive with us and share the channel. There's a lot of people out there that are looking for some advice, and hopefully we can help with that. And that's all we're here for. We just want to give you guys the best advice that we can, and we can't do that without you guys interacting with us. So please like, comment, subscribe, share. We're here to grow the channel, and we can't do it without you guys.
Absolutely. So I'm thinking that, and this is just me thinking off the top of my head. So, excuse me. We'll see how this goes next week with no teams on bye. Probably a chance that if you do have some waiver priority, you may want to hold on to that until week 14 or right there at the playoffs to make a big, quick last move if you have one to make. I'm thinking that next week, maybe in lieu of our waiver spot, unless there's just something very apparent with a breakout player this week. I think myself, Dale, Scott, we'll all just kind of like maybe take a second and just kind of like talk about ourselves for a second. Better you to get to know us a little bit. So I think that might be fun. We won't bore you. We won't go off too long with that, but at least we can kind of give you a little bit of a background more. So kind of like what we did at the very beginning of the podcast, just kind of keep it fresh. And that way you kind of like can relate to us a little bit better, know who you're talking to, at least a little bit as far as that goes. But anyway, that's just a thought I had. I honestly haven't talked to these guys about it, so we'll see how it goes.
No, I'm definitely for that. I think the people need to know, who we are, what kind of people we are, and just a little bit more about us other than fantasy football. So that's what we're here for. We're here to get to know you guys, so you guys can know us, and like I said, so we can grow this podcast and grow our fan base and see what happens in the future. So we're only hoping for good things, and we can only do that with you guys. So thank you for people that have subscribed, the ones that have commented, and the ones that have shared it to friends or family. Please keep doing that, and help us help you, and just see where this channel can get to.
Yep, definitely. Continue to get to know us and support the channel. We definitely appreciate you all. Next week, we should have Scott with us. It will be the three amigos once again, and we'll do a little bit of that, more deep dive with each other. Maybe ask each other a couple of questions on the spot. We'll make it fun. Don't worry. But other than that,
or if you guys, the fans, have any questions that you want to know about us, drop it in the video. Let us know. If you want to know about sports that we're into, anything like that, just drop it in there. So, just drop it in there. Whatever you want to know, we're here for you. We want to get to know you, and the only way we can do that is by interacting. So, next week should be a good episode. It'll be good to have Scotty back. Miss you, Scott. So, be good to have everybody back next week.
Yeah, and that kind of interactiveness with you guys asking us questions about ourselves will definitely be a good lead up to next week's episode. We'll just get a little bit more personal. You can only talk about certain aspects of fantasy football until it starts sounding like the adults with Charlie Brown. So send us stuff, not gifts, but like questions, situations, advice, stuff like that. But we definitely appreciate you all, and we will see you next week. Take care.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.